I've been interested in the meaning of godliness for some time, and one of the things that I realised early on is that Christians can have a hazy idea of what it actually means. Is it about being like God? Is it the same as holiness? Is it just basically a catch-all term for Christian living? I wanted to know what godliness was really all about, because it's clear in the Bible that it's something very important. One of the places that I turned quite a few years ago now was to the Puritans and to Thomas Watson in particular. His works, The Godly Man's Picture and Religion, Our True Interest, which has been recently republished by Banner of Truth as The Great Gain of Godliness, these were particularly influential on me when I was trying to figure this out. When we read the word godliness and related terms in the New Testament, the Greek word that is usually behind the translation is 𝙂𝙤𝙦𝙀. 𝑒w is the Greek prefix for good, and 𝙂𝙦𝙀 refers to reverence or worship. So when we use the word godliness in a biblical manner, we're talking about the right reverence or proper worship a person should exhibit towards God. Whatever else it might mean by extension, to be godly fundamentally means to have the right attitude and affections towards God. But of course, our attitude and affections colour and flavour our actions and lifestyle, and so it's appropriate to speak of godly behaviour, for instance, when our actions demonstrate our sincere devotion to God. When the Puritans talked about this biblical concept, they emphasised the fact that it was chiefly a matter of the heart. Did the Christian love and fear God sincerely in a way that befits his divine dignity? They also considered it very important that God was worshipped properly in private and corporate devotions. They had very particular expectations, for instance, of what a Sunday morning church service should consist of if it was to glorify God appropriately. In Enamoured with Piety, when I look at Thomas Watson's understanding of godliness, I point out that it had two crucial prerequisites. A person needed to have true revelation from God that they could respond to, which was God's self-disclosure in the Scriptures and in His Son, Jesus Christ. And they needed to experience spiritual regeneration, what evangelicals have commonly called being born again. Only where these things were present could there be any hope of a godly response of the heart towards God. Thomas Watson's take on godliness is noteworthy because his book, The Godly Man's Picture, sets out 24 characteristics that a godly person will exhibit. It's a fairly extensive account of what Puritans understood godliness to be and how it would transform a person's character and behaviour over time. And I'd recommend it as the go-to text if you want to read Puritan teaching on this subject. Watson's last publication before his death, Religion, Our True Interest, or The Great Gain of Godliness, has a particular focus on what it means to persevere in godliness during ungodly times. While the 1600s were quite a different period to live in compared to our time, I don't think many people would suggest that it's easier to be a faithful Christian in the 21st century than it was in the 17th. Watson argued strongly that the more godless our society seemed to be, the more determined Christians should be to exhibit true piety in contrast. As evangelicals continue to struggle with temptations to worldliness, compromise, and accommodation, this is a voice from the past that we would do well to heed.